Hey everyone! Today, we're diving into one of DC's most iconic and beloved heroes, Static Shock. From his animated series that won over so many fans to his rich comic book history, Static Shock has amazing electric powers and some fascinating facts you might not know. If you're a fan of this hero or just want to learn more, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments what you love most about Static Shock. Ready to jump in? Let's go! Origin. In the comics, Virgil Hawkins was just a 15-year-old teenager when he gained his powers and became Static Shock. In the animated series, his family consists of Robert, his widowed father who is a social worker, and his older sister Sharon. This differs from the comics, where Robert works at a hospital and Virgil's mother, Jean, is still alive. In both versions, the character lives in Dakota City. Some of his friends from the comics, like Rick Stone and Daisy Watkins, appear in both formats. Alongside his normal life as a teenager, Virgil fights crime as a hero, but never loses his sense of humor, even when facing his enemies. He throws witty remarks and jokes at the villains, and his knowledge of science and pop culture often comes through in his dialogue, especially when he's in his Static Shock persona. Virgil gained his powers during a gang confrontation. In the middle of the conflict, authorities arrived and fired what they thought were gas bombs, but these had been altered to contain an experimental mutagen. This event became known as the Big Bang, leading to the creation of numerous metahumans, including Static Shock himself. Milestone. Between 1993 and 1997, a company called Milestone Comics was quietly producing incredible comics created by a collective of Black artists and writers who were dedicated to increasing their representation in the comic book industry. Static Shock was developed by writer Dwayne McDuffie, who would later become a legend in the comic world. Milestone's comics were a separate imprint published by DC, with no connection to the main DC universe, and the stories took place in the Dakotaverse, named after the city where most of the action occurred. Milestone ceased operations in 1997, falling victim to the comic industry collapse of the 90s. However, the company didn't disappear entirely, shifting its focus to a special project in collaboration with DC, the Static Shock animated series. Virgil Ovid Hawkins. Virgil Hawkins, also known as Static Shock, was named after a well-known civil rights lawyer and activist, Virgil D. Hawkins. This Hawkins attempted to attend law school at the University of Florida, but was denied entry because he was Black. For the next 30 years, he fought at various levels of government and in the courts to become part of Florida's legal community, only to be denied at every turn. Hawkins passed away in 1988 and was posthumously admitted to the Florida bar. Virgil D. Hawkins' fight was not in vain, however, as his legal battles led to the desegregation of Florida's public universities. Dwayne McDuffie was so moved by this long struggle for civil rights that he named his first creation, Static Shock, in honor of the lawyer, just 4 years after his death. What are Static Shock's powers? Static Shock's powers may seem like they're just electricity, but they're actually tied to electromagnetic phenomena. This means he can manipulate both electrical and magnetic energy, allowing him to magnetize objects, electrocute opponents, levitate objects, create electromagnetic nets or prisons, and even use light to blind his enemies. In addition to manipulating energy, he can also absorb electricity from other sources, like batteries or power lines, allowing him to recharge his own energy with this ability. He can even use his powers to tap into radio stations or phone lines. Another interesting use of his powers is mimicking a blowtorch, which allows him to cut and weld metal. Static Shock's abilities also give him some advantages when it comes to healing and resistance. In terms of healing, he can recover quickly from even life-threatening injuries, as long as he's absorbing energy from a powerful source. For resistance, his powers grant him protection against mind control, since the human brain relies on electromagnetic processes to function. When Batman mentions to Static Shock in one of the crossover episodes that Robin was with the Teen Titans, fans quickly began dreaming of seeing Virgil as part of this teen team. And yes, that actually happened in the comics. The union occurred when the Teen Titans invited him to seek refuge in their tower after he had endured a lengthy imprisonment as a superhero gladiator in the Dark Side Club, actually a nightclub operated by DC supervillain Darkseid. This crossover became possible after the Milestone Decoderverse merged with the main DC continuity in 2008, allowing Virgil Hawkins to interact with other characters and entities within that universe. He went on to be part of various Teen Titans lineups. Tribute to Black Lightning. Despite the similarities in their powers and Black Lightning's long-standing presence in DC, the publisher didn't allow the animated series to use the character. The producers worked around this by paying tribute to him in a few episodes. When Virgil decides to become a hero, like any kid, he spends a good amount of time choosing a costume. One of Virgil's early choices is a nod to Black Vulcan's outfit from the 1970s Super Friends series. The double joke here is that Black Vulcan was actually a stand-in for Black Lightning, since at the time, his creator didn't allow DC to use the character in the show. In the episode Blast from the Past, a retired hero named Soul Power, with abilities, appearance, and catchphrases almost identical to Black Lightning's, is called back into action to help Static Shock. It's a great nod to DC's first black hero with electric powers. Richie also underwent changes. Like any good hero, Static Shock had a sidekick, Richie Foley, one of the few people who knew Virgil's secret identity. In the first 2 seasons, Richie played a role similar to Microchip from the Punisher comics, a provider of technology, equipment, and information to support Static Shock's work. For the 3rd season, feeling that the dynamic wasn't progressing, but loving their interactions, the producers decided to shake things up by giving Richie superpowers. They introduced a concept where Richie gradually developed superintelligence by constantly being near Virgil and absorbing his power by osmosis. Thus, he took on the superhero identity of Gear. Another interesting aspect is that in the comics, Richie was explicitly written as gay. Dwayne McDuffie later acknowledged that the animated series Richie was also gay, but this was never addressed on screen. DC Animated Universe. Just like the comics it was inspired by, the first season of Static Shock had no connection to the DC Universe, with the plan being to focus solely on characters from the Milestone Comics line. However, starting in the 2nd season, Warner Brothers decided that the brand was too popular not to integrate, and saw it fitting naturally with other shows and characters from the DC Animated Universe. Crossovers began with Batman and Robin early in the 2nd season. Eventually, in the following 3 seasons, the series featured appearances from the Justice League, Joker, Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy, Superman, Green Lantern, and Terry McGinnis, the Batman of the future. On the flip side of the crossover coin, episodes of Justice League Unlimited set in the future showed Static Shock as an older, even more powerful hero, being an essential part of the Justice League. Static Shock in other animations. In addition to starring in his own animated series, Static Shock has appeared in other DC cartoons. One notable appearance is in an episode of Justice League Unlimited, where we see an older version of the character. At 65 years old, Virgil continues to act as a hero, remaining quite healthy despite his age. He made a return to the screen in Young Justice. Here, Static Shock's role goes beyond a special guest appearance, as he appears in several episodes. He even joins the team of young heroes and has Black Lightning as his mentor. Return to the comics. The Static Shock animated series ended in 2004, and by that time, Milestone Comics had been closed for 7 years. However, the show's popularity led DC to continue supporting the character in the years that followed. At the DC Fandom in 2020, it was announced that Milestone Comics would be revived, with Static Shock starring in a new digital comic and graphic novel released in 2021. It was also confirmed that negotiations were underway for a live-action Static Shock film, though it's unclear how this is progressing following James Gunn's takeover of the DCU. Unfortunately, Static Shock's creator, Dwayne McDuffie, passed away in 2011 due to complications from heart surgery. As we wrap up, I hope you enjoyed diving into the world of Static Shock and learning about his origins, powers, and his journey through various animations and comics. This iconic hero has had quite an impact, both in his original adventures and in his recent comeback. If you like what you saw and want to stay updated on more content about your favorite heroes and villains, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps us out. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss a video. We love hearing from you, so drop a comment below, and Let us know what you think about Static Shock or any other characters you'd like us to cover. Your feedback and suggestions mean a lot to us. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.